This video is just a quick update to my collection video that I did a couple of weeks ago. Just some odds and ends, a lot of stuff in my bedroom that I forgot to show. This is one of the main Sega... Oh no, this is the modded one, never mind. It's not even the right one. This is the one. They didn't show this one in that video. This one is an HDG high definition graphics, one of the early Model 1 systems. It's got that extra extension serial port on the back. I don't even know what that was used for off the top of my head. But this is like the Sega Genesis console that I basically use most of the time, even though it's not modded. And this one is. This one's not a high-definition graphics model, and the sound circuitry is usually better on those earliest Model 1 systems. So that's the one that I play most of the time, hence it's in my bedroom, hooked up to this old Commodore monitor. You guys probably remember this from years ago when I got this thing. It's a 14-inch, I think. Am I right on that one? 14-inch CRT. They're great for retro games. You got your composite AV inputs right on the front. Anyways, yeah. So I keep the Commodore monitor in here. It's great for retro games. And that high-definition graphics Genesis is the one that usually gets played on. I don't know if I showed the EverDrives in that video, but I still have the EverDrive for the Sega Genesis, and I have the EverDrive for the Super Nintendo. They both still work great to this day. What else? I don't know. In here I have a bunch of handhelds, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advances, some, 3DS games. I was really late on the 3DS, so I got these all as like greatest hits, like $20 basically. You might remember this Game Boy is a black Play It Loud edition. It's in absolute mint condition. The only thing I've done since I got it is I actually changed the screen cover for a glass one. So that's an aftermarket black glass screen cover. But I mean, this thing was absolutely immaculate if you remember when I got that. My original modded Game Boy is in here. This is the one that has the backlit and the Bivert mod chip on it. And then I have my green one that looks like Raphael. It's got yellow buttons and a red screen cover and a clear green case. And then I have my Famicom games. This is a thing that was originally designed to hold tape cassettes. They often come in handy for Sega Genesis games, and in this case, Famicom games. So that's my small collection of Famicom games. Super Mario USA is our Super Mario Bros. 2, but in Japan it was released under Super Mario USA. Most of these, if not all of these, are legit, except for this one. This one is clearly... Oh, no, that's a multi-cart. That's not the one I was thinking of. That one is Super Mario Bros. 3, but clearly a fake. So other than the multi-cart and that one, I believe they're all real. This thing is just full. This is my Super Nintendo games, and that is double stacked. So I think I have about 80 Super Nintendo games. They're not all in here. Some of them are boxed. And there's the Super Game Boy in here. Should be some Super Famicom games in here somewhere. Yeah, there's some Super Famicom games in here. This Super Castlevania 4, Super Mario World, etc., etc. So yeah, that's where my Super Nintendo games are. And then that's N64 games. Not a whole lot of N64 games, but there's a fair bit there. And some controllers. And what else is in here? Super Nintendo controllers, Super Nintendo power adapters. Get this box out of the way. I kept this box here just because my cat likes to sleep in it. It's NES controllers, Zapper. There'll be some NES power adapters in there. I keep all the NES power adapters together, all the SNES power adapters together. And then this one is Sega Genesis. A ton of Sega Genesis controllers, power adapters, AV cables, you know, the 32X pass-through cables, all that kind of stuff is in there. Not much in here. That's Dreamcast. There's a bunch more in these bins. I'm not going to go through them. But in those bins there is Game Gears, there is Dreamcast hookups, Sega Saturn hookups, Saturn controllers, Dreamcast controllers. I know there was a Dreamcast controller in here, oddly enough, with a couple of VMUs in it. But there's a bunch more Dreamcast controllers in one of those bins. And just random cables, power adapters for the random stuff like... oh! That just reminded me. In here there is... another Dreamcast. I think I showed a Dreamcast, but there's another one in there. There's an old Pong console, Coleco Telestar. What's in there? Oh, that, you know what that is? I didn't mention this in the video because I wasn't even sure if I still had this thing. I almost thought I sold it, but that's the Atari 7800. And then a PS3 Slim. This thing semi-works, but not really. I opened it up and cleaned it. I don't think it's overheating. I think it's an optical drive issue. It reads the discs most of the time. Sometimes you have to try twice to get it to load a game. But, you know, it seems like it gets to a certain part in the disc, and I can't read it anymore, so... games will usually crash or air out at some point. So again, I don't think it's overheating. I think it's actually the optical drive. Again, I opened it all up, cleaned out the optical drive. That didn't seem to help. What else did I forget? These things, these like mini arcade, my arcade things. You saw the Dig Dug one. I originally got the Dig Dug one. It was on sale for like $29 Canadian. So it's like, I don't even know, $22 or something US. And then the Miss Pac-Man went on sale a couple weeks later. I ended up buying it. I actually have a lot of fun with these ones, actually, especially the Miss Pac-Man. Me and my wife are going back and forth, basically keeping track of our high scores and trying to beat each other. Right now, I've got the high score, but we've gone back and forth so many times, and I love rubbing it in when I beat her high score. Again, these things are very playable. They're not very cool as a replica, but they're super playable. Yeah, I guess that's it. There's the green one. I just found the green one. It's got the clear green case on the front. Actually, so originally when I did this one, I had an all clear green case, and the case I complained about was a little bit, the plastic was kind of weak, and 3 of the screw holes stripped out. And the funny thing is, that was all in the back half of the case, and I had a green Play It Loud Game Boy, and a couple of the screw holes were stripped out in it, but that was on the front half of the case for it. So I got the front half of the green side, the clear green side, with no stripped screw holes, and I have the back side of a green Play It Loud, and it has no stripped screw holes. So between the two halves now, I've got an absolute perfect Game Boy in terms of all the screws are held in tightly. And you've seen this one before. It's got an inverted screen. Let's see if the camera will. It's got an inverted screen on it, but it's pretty good contrast. Without doing the bivert mod, you can actually just flip the polarizer over, and everything's inverted. But it gives you the same sharp contrast that you get from doing a bivert mod, if you don't mind that it's inverted. So it's actually a really visible screen. The original Game Boy screens really aren't that bad once you get an LED in there, and either invert the polarizer or do a bivert mod. So yeah, this Game Boy is getting the light. So I got the clear green front on it, but not on the back. And yeah, this one works great, other than that one horizontal line, which you probably noticed. And horizontal lines are kind of a bitch. Vertical lines are generally easy to fix, but when you get a horizontal line, you may not be able to fix it, and honestly, it's not worth trying. I could open this thing up and try and fix it, but I could make it worse. And it's been like this for a while. Sometimes it goes away. Sometimes when you're playing it long enough, it kind of just fades away. So it comes and goes. My battery's getting low on my phone, so just give me a warning. Yeah, the line comes and it goes. It's there most of the time, but I can live with it. I'd rather just have one horizontal line than a bunch. So anyways, I guess that's it. I think I got everything I wanted to show you. So yeah, see you guys later.